This interview is regarding the band Kekal, spelled Kekal. Kekal has no official members since the year 2009, although the band is still active in making music and releasing albums after albums through the work of three associated contributors, voluntarily and now anonymously. As a band, Kekal has been around since 1995 and has released 13 albums so far. 6 of them released after the band has become memberless. This interview is being read by a volunteer representative based on the information received about the band and the new album and the stage. Kekal means eternal or immortal in Indonesian language. It was coined by one of the founding members, called New Bay, at that time. The reason was simple. It had not been used by any other bands at that time, so to avoid future confusion with any other bands that possibly carrying the same name, the name Kekal was chosen. And Visage is the latest album from the band that has just been released recently. It has 9 tracks with over 50 minutes of total playing time. The album can be obtained from Bandcamp as a digital download, also streaming on various platforms, and it is also available in limited edition physical formats, namely digipack, CD, and cassette, through an Indonesian record label called Elevation Records. All the information regarding the album can be read online at www.kekal.org/mvisage. The lyrics talk about the great awakening of humanity and Earth's ascension to the higher octave of vibrational frequency in order to reach humanity's grand destiny, which is to transcend the matrix and rise beyond the construct of duality. All the lyrics were written first before the music, and all the songs were written during the recording process to capture the spontaneous moments of insights within each and every passage of creation. The lyrics are all interconnected, almost like a concept album. But the band does not want to consider Visage as a concept album, unlike the 2020 album Quantum Resolution, because the nature of the songs that can be listened individually without losing the general scheme. For those interested to study the lyrics more deeply, the behind the lyrics written discourse is also available as an ebook that can be downloaded online from the album page. It is in PDF format, mobile friendly, with over 120 pages of writing. The album cover art represents the topic in the lyrics. There are many symbolical meanings behind what is being presented there. All point to the individual songs as well as the whole album in general. The most identifiable one is regarding the charged electromagnetic energy that is emitted from the heart space into the ether. In the same artwork, and especially the front side of the CD version, there is also an alchemy symbol that represents Philosopher's Stone, pointing to the transmutation of energy in order to reach a 0 point beyond the scope of duality. Elevation Records is a small Indonesian indie label who is focusing on releasing physical formats such as CDs, cassette tapes, and vinyl LPs. They are a multi-genre record label, meaning they are not only focusing on metal or rock music releases. The new album, Visage, has more musical elements from outside the scope of metal, especially electronic music, ambient, and avant-garde. So it is natural for this type of album to be released by a record label that can appeal to a broader scope of audience, not in terms of quantity, not in numbers, but in the level of tolerance and openness to other types of music being presented. The new album is an extreme album to the point that many extreme metal fans may find it as too extreme and even disturbing because it treads beyond their musical comfort zone. No, for Kekal, it's not important. Kekal has never had any of the so-called label deals in terms of the band signings, but only in licensing of finished album for the physical formats, and all in per album basis. The digital formats have always been released independently by the band. Kekal is purely an independent band, meaning the band itself has never been signed to any record label ever. Sometimes one album can be licensed to more than two record labels at the same time, depending on their distribution territory. The former members got into music when they were young, so it is safe to say that when the band was formed in 1995, most of the members at the time were already familiar with the music and were able to write songs and play their instruments. Kekal released its first demo tape only 3 months after the formation. Now, the information that can be received from Kekal's Hall of Records suggests that the member at that time started to play music when they were about 14 or 15 years old. That was about 5 years before Kekal was formed as a band. And most of the musicians had already played in other bands before the band started. The first noticeable influences during the very beginning of the band were from Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and also Bathory. Iron Maiden and Judas Priest were cited as influential to the development of Kekal's guitar work by adding melody lines and harmony into the metal structure, and the incorporations of guitar solos to the songs as well, where Bathory was influential in introducing the band to a do-it-yourself ethic and self-produced recordings, and also to the so-called hybrid drumming, which is the mix between the real drums and programmed drums. Music industry does not need to follow Kekal, and at the same time, Kekal also does not depend on the music industry for its survival. They, meaning the music industry, already have their own ways of doing their shit, so let them do whatever they want to do. And so is Kekal. Being 100% independent band that embodies uncompromising anarchist philosophy, Kekal can continue to make music and distribute it outside the scope of the music industry. Music industry and Kekal can run in parallel. Kekal will still be going ahead and even in upward trajectory. And music industry will go downhill and spiraling down the drain when global predatory economy dies. The band will never be coerced into submission and conformity to the music industry. Kekal is not afraid of losing fans or potential listeners because most of the time the music industry will continue to maintain their control like a gatekeeper that stands between music fans and the bands. It is important to also add that many small independent record labels and even independent publications do not depend on the music industry for their existence. They can run fully independent in the underground just like the old days, where there was stuff like MTV, radios, but in the underground there were also underground tape traders and fanzines. There is no comment on this, because there is no person that can answer this question. Sorry. Metal scene seems to be alive and well in Jakarta, but Kekal has already left the entire music scene since 2005 after the release of the fifth album, Acidity. When the band started to continue doing music without any official members in 2009, and just to accept the works from contributors to release future albums, none of the musicians that contributed in Kekal were still involved actively in the music scene. The disengagement with the music scene enabled Kekal to move forward beyond its comfort zone. Of course, sometimes at the cost of losing many existing fans in the process. It has continued until now. Kekal has no known details regarding the local Jakarta music scenes right now. Things have changed since 2005 because when Kekal was still active in the music scene, the main formats for any records were all still physical, whether CD or cassette, and social media was almost non-existent back then. Bands played shows more often just because it was the main avenue to get noticed by music enthusiasts. Right now, people can tune to YouTube or Spotify to check out the music, and most bands only play shows for their existing fans or to get extra money from selling merchandise. Kekal will continue to make music and release new albums as long as there is any contributors available. It is the music that matters, that's for sure. At this moment, there is no plan for anything else. The new album is just out about a month ago, and the focus is still to push the album further, to reach any potential listeners out there who have never heard Kekal. Many people, especially younger metal fans, haven't heard the music of Kekal, and for some, even the band name. This is the main reason why Kekal is offering free download of the band's 6 best albums on Bandcamp that can be accessed from Kekal website www.kekal.org/download. Music enthusiasts can still check out the music of Kekal directly without having to depend on mainstream music platforms' algorithm in getting the suggested bands. It's just a matter of willingness to take a few more minutes in downloading the music. Thank you for the interview.